Yo everybody, it's Override. So let's get to it. Bring the pain! What's up, everybody? It's Heat Override, and I'm ready to bring the pain for you this week. Ooh, yeah! Man, it's been another crazy weekend. That was a hell of a wild card mayhem weekend. So if you see the episode name, I'm going to be talking about the wild card weekend, of course. And then at the end, I will give my picks plus the money line straight up bets for FanDuel. That's how we're going to do it. So let's get ready to bring the pain. Ooh, yeah. If you haven't been to Dr. Roto, get to the site. Use code word DOC and start winning today. I went 4-2 on my picks last week. I know a lot of people got thrown off by that, that Ram game right here, that team, that beautiful team right there. Oh, what happened? What happened? The Rams were supposed to lose to the Vikings, right? We got moved from our own stadium. Yeah, right now I'm going to get on my little soapbox right now. Got moved. Nobody thought we had a chance, but we beat them. We beat them. And our defense wasn't even playing like that when we played the Vikings the last time. But you give us no respect. Now you have all learned that things can happen. Of course, of those two losses, we'll get to that. I just wanted to say that, though. Sometimes that you can't just always just be assuming that teams will lose. Of course, that does a lot. I do it. I'm guilty of it myself. So I'm not going to say that I don't do it and that I'm not part of the problem as too. But, however, this was a little like nobody really gave them a shot. And a lot of people didn't give the Commanders a shot. But let's just start it out the way the rundown happened. Of course, the Texans beat the Chargers 32-12. I mean, the Texans just started that game off, had a game plan, and they stuck to it. And they just kept putting pressure. And the Chargers defense did play good. But the one thing that a lot of people sometimes overlook is actual common sense. The Chargers really weren't that impressive, even though at the end of the season, in desperation mode, kind of playoff mode, they had to keep winning. So they kind of opened up the playbook. Then when you get to the team like the Texans, who has a good defense, like people forgot that the Texans do have a good defense, and they have one of the best lockdown corners in the league in Stingley Jr. So when you sit there and you take the back and you go, okay, what's going to happen, blah, 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 you could do and you could say and you could run the numbers and you can think about what will happen to the Chargers is what was going to happen to the Chargers. The fact is that I was really surprised. In a lot of best ball leagues, I got a lot of Texans, of course. So now I'm moving on because a lot of people picked the Chargers. Now, it wasn't that I didn't think the Chargers wouldn't have been able to beat the Texans. It was more so that the Texans were at home. It was the crowd. They came out, and like I said, they just kept applying pressure. And then eventually they just drifted away as Nico Collins went off. Now, let's move to the Ravens beat the Steelers 28-14. The Steelers had some chances. They really did, just like the last time. Now, the Steelers typically shouldn't really get into these really, really big score, like high-scoring games with the Ravens, because it always seems to never really go their way, especially as of recently. However, they do have the offense in a way to score and keep up. The problem was they just couldn't. The fourth down, beginning of the game, inches away, and you don't go for that fourth down. I know it's on your side of the field, but the Ravens literally just went down the field and scored on you. Lamar Jackson literally ran like 8 times in a row. I think it was more than that. It was insane. And then they score the touchdown, and now they're up. Now you get the ball back. You got to come at them with that same intensity. The Ravens were definitely the hungrier of the two teams. The Steelers' future really didn't matter, but the Steelers' season technically was doomed when all their plans got thrown up with the Brandon Ayuk trade not being able to go through. So the Steelers drafted Roman Wilson a couple injuries later and then never makes his way back to the team. He's on the IR. Then you flip back when the Ayuk trade falls through. They had no backup plan. Mike Williams was the backup plan. Mike Williams was practically supposed to be the third receiver, with Calvin Austin the third being the fourth receiver and hoping that Roman Wilson would have been able to come in. That's not what happened. What happens was Pickens was practically double covered and had the best corners on him all year long, and at times acted like a total ass. But other times, he did have an arguing side to a few stories where he was held and hit like that. But here's the problem. And it was the problem with throwing a lot of deep passes to Calvin Austin. I get it. Russell Wilson had no other options other than Freiermuth, and believe me, eventually teams caught on to Freiermuth. But Freiermuth shouldn't be your number 2 option. And even though Najee and Jaylen Warren were able to do exactly what they did in every game against the Ravens this year, and Pickens coming in and being able to be stellar, nobody else showed up. Williams looked like trash. Of course, he did make a big pass, and set up the Steelers and get them down. Like he did have a big catch, but I shouldn't be talking to you about a big catch. I should be talking to you about a big game with maybe a big catch. And that is the Steelers' problem. They were undermanned, and that is why they lost. Defense looked great, but over the end of the season, the defense also didn't generate a lot of pass rush on quarterbacks. They were able to get beaten that way. That's why the Steelers had a lot of problems and started losing games. They weren't getting that solid pass rush. It was like Highsmith fell off the edge of the earth, and Hayward was just old and tired, and Watt was being double teamed constantly or chipped by the running back coming out, tight end coming out of the backfield. It's really sad what happened. It was kind of like what happened with Aaron Donald. But the Steelers have a good team. They'll be back next year. They definitely got to get it up. And the same with the Chargers, too. The Chargers, I thought that J.K. Dobbins was really good. That was a great addition. Gus Edwards. But taking the injury problems from the Ravens and putting it on your team is exactly what happened to the Chargers. So, unfortunately, you got to address that situation. You need a big-time running back. Ladd McConkey did great. I still think you need a number 2. That's why the Steelers and the Chargers, who are 2 of the better defenses of the year, are out of the playoffs. You got to have a complete team to win. So let's move along to a complete team who is playing a decently complete team, but also has problems. Bills destroy the Broncos 31-7, no competition. Broncos come straight out, run down the field, score a touchdown. It's funny because when I made my picks online, a lot of people go, I don't see the Bills getting that 30 points, Rob. I don't see the Bills getting that 30 points. Well, again, I may be off on some of my scores, and maybe sometimes I go a little bananas with some of the points because I'm just trying to will that into fruition. Man, I'm like, hey, I think this is going to be a 70-point game because I want us all to win. I want our DFS lineups to do great, and I don't want defense to win. I don't want kickers to be winning, okay? We don't need kicker captains. The only way we don't get kicker captains is if there's a lot of offense, some touchdowns, kind of like that thing that likes to happen, that lights us up. Man, but this was no competition after that touchdown. After that, the Bills just laid it on, never gave it up. They just did everything they wanted to do. And Cook was just gashing them. And I listened to the first part of this game on the radio coming back because I was on the highway. And all I heard was, Josh Allen, completed pass. Kurt Samuel, Josh Allen, completed pass. Shakir. It was over and over. It just was Josh Allen doing what Josh Allen does and getting everybody involved. And that's why it was just too much. And then the Bills defense, people don't give the Bills defense a lot of credit. They know how to stop the pass, and they can play good against the rush. Don't. Okay. All right. You'll see. Eagles beat the Packers in the most boring game of the week, 22-10. Just boring. Whatever. Eagles won. No A.J. Brown used, saving him for the Rams. He's probably going to put a dang stake in my heart this week, but whatever. That's the way it goes. The Eagles really are a good team. That defense is really good. Nolan Smith and the boys are getting the work done down low. Man, I mean, the linebackers have been great, but Dean going down, you kind of hope. I didn't really look at any of the news because I've been really busy getting back to work and things like that. So I haven't really followed his injury. But I know that Zach Bond is going to need him back there. If he's not back there, the safeties and everything are going to have to play up because the Rams love to run the ball. It shows again with what they do with Kyron Williams. They don't care how boring they are. They will beat the daylights out of you with the buka Nakua. and they will run Kyren Williams and all of their running backs. Even Rivers was getting action yesterday, and that's what it takes, and that's what the Rams do. I'm bringing that up because, man, the Packers did not run the ball. The Packers had Jacobs, right? And it was like the beginning of that game when that game started to kind of creep away a little bit. They just weren't using him. And then by the end of the game, they were using Jacobs, moving the ball. But this is right here. The Green Bay Packers need a true number one receiver. I think Dobbs is a great number two. I want Jaden Reed to be that number one, but I'm not sold, but I do like Wicks. So I think you get rid of Christian Watson. I don't care. Get rid of him. I like him. Get rid of him. No, he can go to Chiefs. Chiefs will pick his ass up, right? And then you bring up, now you have Dobbs. Now you have Reed. Now you got Wicks, right? I like that. Bring in a big-time receiver. Tyreek Hill. Bring him in. If you can get Tyreek Hill on the Packers, and this defense does return, because this defense is good. This defense is solid. A lot of people didn't give him credit. That's why I brought them up on my Ultra Contrarian show, is because the Packers, they held the Eagles to 22 points. That's a feat, people. That is a feat, man. That is a good offense. That is two explosive wide receivers, an explosive tight end, and an explosive running back. One of the most explosive running backs of all time, Saquon Barkley. We all know his name. They held them to 22 yards or 22 points. That right there is pure genius. And also, that shows that the Packers are going for it. They just got to, again, if you notice the teams that are getting beat, no identity. I didn't talk much about the Broncos because we know the Broncos defense was great. But at the same time, the Broncos, Sutton really came on, had a great year. I love Vele, Marvin Mims. If you didn't follow all my Ultra Contrarian shows and all the talk of Marvin Mims I've been doing for the last months, you gotta. Ever since Bo Nix hit that turn mid-season, it's been all Marvin Mims. Let's hit it back up, man. They can do it, but they need a running back. They need to figure it out. Again, another team without a running back option. Thought they had him with Williams. It's not the case. And I don't even want to talk about what y'all did with me with Jaleel McGowan this week. I thought Jaleel, and he was priced higher than Williams, would definitely get work. This man never got the ball. The way they could have actually helped beat the Buffalo Bills is not only by running the ball, but by pass catching it out of the backfield with McLaurin. Nope. That's why you're out of the playoffs. Right. All right. Let's get to the Commanders. Beat the Buccaneers 23-20. Man, the Buccaneers played around and got burned. That's exactly what happened. They moved the ball at will with Mike Evans. Bucky Irving looked good. White came in as a good filler. Otten got involved. And it just was a whole bunch of love going on, a love fest, huge. And it didn't amount to anything but 20 points. And then at the end of that game, they had a lot of opportunities to put them away, put the Commanders away, and they didn't. And they let Jaden Daniels up on that field. And what happened? Jaden Daniels did what Jaden Daniels does. Throws a little bit of magic, abracadabra, and bam! Field goal range, outsee, and now you didn't have to travel far to go home. Have a great day, Buccaneers. As far as everything going forward with the Buccaneers, I don't really have much. They could definitely get some defense in the back end, safeties, corner. They need a shutdown corner. Maybe pick one up, draft one. That'd be really great. Linebackers, I'm fine with them. And, of course, defensive line, being able to be solid and consistent against the run, you can't ask for anything more than that. But they definitely need a little work on that. And they'll be getting Chris Godwin back. So, bar Nick, they don't trade him. He's not ready. Things like that. But outside of that, Buccaneers definitely can be back. But the Commanders are looking great right now. Everything's working for them. The Rams sacked the Vikings 27-9. And probably was one of the biggest upsets, if not the biggest upset. Houston would have been the biggest upset of the weekend. Man, the 9 sacks. Super guy, Jared Verse, gets his touchdown, flies in like Superman. Whoop, bam. What more do you want? The Rams defensive line is playing lights out. They are dominating on all that. If you just watched what the Rams did to the Vikings O-line, which was good, every snap that those four were just like roar, right through the middle, just roar through the ends, roar from the corner position. Now, I know that the Vikings feel really bad. Like they go, the fans go, well, we had a touchdown. It was 10-10. It was taken away. Intentional grounding wasn't called. I didn't see nothing. Hey, the Rams got some Kansas City Chiefs love for once. Don't hate, appreciate. Yeah, horns up, Rams Nation. Woo! Man, but the Rams just look good on offense and didn't really have to do much. Now, the Vikings are pretty stout up front, and of course, they had a great pass rush. Van Ginkel getting the sack, getting his job done, and I knew that was going to happen. But at the same time, the Vikings just did not show up. Once Sam Darnold got that pass rush in his face the whole time, he just couldn't get anything out. And Hawkinson had a great game. I mean, that's what the Rams give up to tight end, and we're going to have problems with Goddard this week, right? But at the same time, Hawk is a lot better than Goddard, although I've always said that Dallas Goedert's always been one. I don't hate him. I like him. I think he's a great player. I think it was really awesome. But at the same time, when you flip back, Hawkinson, man, TJ Hawk is the man. So he deserves what he gets. But at the same time, this is where it's going to end up happening, is that the Rams were able to control that game and allow them to make mistakes. And then once it got emotional with that, they punted the ball back, and then the Rams just slowly pulled away, defensive touchdown, and then it was just lights out after that. It was Kyron Williams getting these big runs. It was Puka just getting the big passes. Heck, Cooper Kupp showed up. So, I mean, that really sucked was Higbee going down. I said going into the week, and a lot of you might have listened because Higbee was a little owned, but Higbee is a big part of the Rams offense and shows why he's a little better than Parkinson and Davis Allen. And now we got Davis Allen, in there and Parkinson in there, which is fine. We're just back to where we were at. And that's where we'll go. Now, let's get to it. So, of course, I picked the Texans, the Steelers, Bills, Eagles, Buccaneers, Rams going 4-2. Going into next week's, we got the Chiefs first. We got the Texans versus the Chiefs, Commanders versus the Lions, Rams versus the Eagles, and Ravens versus the Bills. I am taking the Chiefs at home. I don't care. I think the Texans are fine, but on the road is different. Kansas City, Sea of Red, Mahomes. I'm not saying that the Texans can't beat the Chiefs because the Chiefs have problems with an alpha receiver, somebody like Nico Collins. It's kind of like what Jamar Chase does to them at times. Nico goes going off. I'm not going to say that he's going to go 14 catches off, but if he catches 14 catches in this game, the Texans could win it. However, you get a plus 350 money line on the Texans right now on FanDuel with a negative 450 for the Chiefs. That tells you that they're a heavy favorite. Almost the heaviest favorite of the week. So I'm going to go Chiefs over the Texans, 27-23. Commanders versus the Lions. Lions have a negative 520, heaviest favorite right now. The Commanders are a plus 400, which is the biggest underdog of the weekend. Lions 31, Commanders 24. Lions go ahead touchdown. David Montgomery is coming back, and we all know how the Lions are going to end this game with Montgomery. It's going to be Gibbs and everybody, and then you're going to see that hammer come back in, and then boom, they're going to win the game. Or they're going to be up, and they're going to hold the ball for the rest of the game, and they're going to drain that clock. That's how the Lions are going to do it. That's how they're going to move on. Rams versus Eagles. We got the Rams with a plus 240, and we got the Eagles at a negative 295. Now, I thought the game would be a little closer. I guess not. I do know that the Eagles have already beat us this year, and practically how they beat us is probably the way they're going to beat us again. However, I have picked the Chiefs, I have picked the Lions, and I'm going to pick somebody else soon. But for right now, I am picking my LA Rams. I'm taking the Rams. That pass rush ain't no joke. I've been talking it up for weeks. Once the offense shows up, plus we know that the Eagles these injuries really affect the Eagles. The Rams are going to be exploit that. McVay will make sure they exploit that, and they're going to have a problem in the back end. That means Puka Nacua is going to be running bonkers. And the way the Rams are using Nacua right now, they don't even have to use Cooper Kupp. But when they go to Cooper Kupp, believe me, all of you are not seeing Cooper Kupp's plays because they don't want you to see them. And I don't care what anybody says right now. I'm one of the biggest diehard Ram fans. Dr. Roto will back that up 100,000% that I'm one of the best people in this world and industry that when it comes to the Rams, I know what the hell I'm talking about. And I'm telling you right now, when it comes to desperation, the Rams will unleash Cooper Kupp. Until then, you got to beat everybody else. And that still can equate to a loss for the Rams. We may never get to that playbook, but we better get to that playbook because we're going to need it because we got a lot of superstars on the Eagles side playing against us. That whole offense is freaking deadly. We're in Philly. It's going to be cold. It's cold right now here in Erie, Pennsylvania, and they ain't much warmer, all right? It ain't going to be much warmer there. Hopefully, maybe mid-40s by Sunday. That would be awesome. Any higher, great. But, man, you could be looking at a 20-degree game in Philly. And that's that game's going to hurt. But they're going to hurt, too, when they play. So that's going to make it fun. Rams, 23-17. Yeah, we know. Ravens, negative 116. Actually the favorite versus the Bills at a negative 102. Bills, 27. Ravens, 23. This game, again, the one thing I will say is Erie practically has the same weather as the Bills. Another cold weather game. The Ravens are a cold weather team. They run the ball. And the Bills have been susceptible against the run. And this is like a straight matchup because the Bills have a great, potent passing offense. And James Cook has made himself he has made an argument to he is one of the best top 5 running backs in the league. After the year he had dealing with Josh Allen running a lot of those touchdowns in himself and then having to share with a little bit with Ray Davis and the Ty Johnson packages that the Bills have, which again, okay, so let's get to it. How will the Bills, because I'm picking the Bills. So Chiefs, Lions, Rams, Bills. So that means that the Chiefs and the Bills will be meeting in the conference championship, and the Rams will be in Detroit, which either will probably be Matt Stafford's last game in the NFL. Could be. If he retires, your last game is in the stadium that you've played all of your career in. You might as well pull a Bettis, bro. But if you don't, you could beat the Lions and go to another Super Bowl and then beat the Chiefs or the Bills because it don't matter. Oh, yeah. We're going to beat them. So let's get to it. The Bills are definitely going to be able to exploit this. The Ty Johnson package that I was talking about is going to help the Bills loosen up the Ravens' run defense. Once that is loose, because Johnson's going to be running a lot. So they do like to run Johnson in these packages because a lot of people, when they see Johnson get into the game, they think automatically it's going to be a pass out the backfield, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's where the Bills get you. That's where they do little tricky things like bootlegs with Josh Allen or just run Johnson right up the middle, where he's been very effective being able to get runs because of these mismatches that they got when Johnson comes in. So that being said, when you forward to that, the Bills can score on this Ravens defense. If the Chiefs or if the Steelers can move the ball the way they did and screw up as much, the Bills should be able to move the ball. But they better not. Josh Allen, you show up, Super Allen, and you start turning that ball over, you're going to have a long day. However, the Ravens will keep this game slow. They will slow this game down. They will run. And that's kind of what the Bills have been doing too. A lot of like ball control offense through either the run game and the passing game, because again, the Bills' short passes are kind of like runs in a lot of ways. So with that being said, when you flip it over to that, that's how it does. How does the Ravens win this game? The Ravens just run the ball. If they can just keep running the ball, eat the clock up, keep Josh Allen on the sideline so he doesn't exploit their secondary and be able to get great play from their wide receivers, that's going to be the problem. is because the Bills should be able to easily contain all of these guys, even Andrews. Yes, they will get some guys off. Yes, there could be a broken play because the Bills are going to have to play up worrying about Jackson and Derrick Henry. But at the same time, I mean, Derrick Henry knows if he can get past this round, he's one game away from the Super Bowl. These Ravens have been punked, talked about. Jackson has been looked down upon. He loses this game, he's not the MVP. I don't care what you say. He's not the MVP. The MVP is on the other side of the field. This game is to determine who the MVP is almost practically. It's insane. And that's why it's going to be, that's why the line is so close. But yeah, definitely. That's my picks for the week. Now, looking ahead, on Thursday, I'll have my Ultra Contrarian show for the divisional round. We're losing players pretty soon, people. We only have 2 games left. And then we're going to be to a 2-game slate, and then it's a showdown slate for the Super Bowl, right? Also, next Tuesday, I may have to record this episode either earlier, which means I'll have to do that, or I'll have to control the stat because I'm going to have interview on. I'm going to have the host of the Pod of Thunder, Chris L. He's a Lions fan. So that's how this all kind of gets, and that's kind of why I want to talk to it. So week 1, he makes a bet while we're all on a pre-live show for the Pod of Thunder. And he goes, let's bet. Put your money where your mouth is, or put your team where you're at. If the Lions win, I come on, bring the pain. If the Rams win, you come on Pod of Thunder and get it to choose a song. This is kind of why I want the Rams to play the Lions again, because I want to get on the Pod of Thunder and I want to choose a song that's going to completely blitzcrank the whole Pod of Thunder Nation. Yeah, woo! I'm so excited. But next week, I will have Chris on. That one that's one's not going to be, of course, on the Dr. Roto Network. It will be on my own podcasting service. You'll have to go get that because we're going to get into music and things like that kind of talk. So you definitely want to check that out because all my interview podcasts are simply amazing. We have so many great times. I mean, that last one was Simon Shackleton. Podcast of the year, easily. No one's even come close. Joe Rogan, I got you. Oh, yeah. Well, wouldn't it be nice to get that championship? Have a great day, everybody. And always remember to bring the pain. Oh, yeah. May the points be with you.